you so much for being here. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, thank you guys for being here. For those of you on Instagram, hello. And for those of you on TikTok, hello. So I think we have everyone covered. I think so. I think we do. But let me just double check out. I didn't do this privacy thing. This Facebook and this privacy thing drives me absolutely nuts. There we go. Now we have it. Now we have it up and running, I think, so that everybody can watch it. Okay, a couple things before we get into the presentation for this evening. I want you to go to the sponsor's website, KGRADB Radio. So KGRADB.com. Again, KG, giraffe, RAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. They have some amazing, amazing shows there. I mean, really cool shows. So make sure you go there and subscribe. If you're going to subscribe, put Bishop as your promo code. You're going to get 30% off your subscription. So it doesn't make sense that you not do it. So if you love topics, interesting topics, you love different, really, really diverse shows, then you got to go to the site, kgradb.com, and put Bishop as your promo code. My website's very simple, bishopjameslong.com. There it is, easy peasy, that's it. bishopjameslong, LONG.com. If you want to know the church's website, that's easy too, usocc.org. Now, by the way, we have a church retreat coming up March 14th to the 17th. So if you would like to join us, you're more than welcome to. It's open to the public, and we'd love to have you. Of course, that's going to be next month. So you got to call Todd Hall. So Todd Hall Retreat Center in Columbia, Illinois is where we will be. And that's where we have some folks who are going to be ordained to the priesthood. And we also have some folks who are making their perpetual vows. They'll be obviously Benedictines, fully fledged and pledged Benedictines. So we appreciate them as well. So we have a lot to cover on March 14th to the 17th. So there you go. If you want to, and I'll be doing presentations. I'll be doing theological presentations. I'll be talking a lot about theology, certain topics. So we'll be giving lectures, and you'll learn quite a bit as well. But you have to call Todd Hall Retreat Center, and you have to make sure that you give them a shout out and say, hey, what's this all about? And I like to do it, or I don't want to do it, whatever it's up to you. It's up to you. Tonight, folks, I tell you what, I've been debating about this particular topic because I don't ever want to be seen as an individual who likes to attack people or their faiths. I'm the type of person that I have friends from all walks of life. I have friends that are atheists. I have friends that are pagans, that are Wiccans, that are Jewish, that are Muslim, that are Christians. I have friends that are conservative, that are liberal Christians, that are moderate. The point is, I have friends from all walks of life, and I respect them, and I respect their right to believe in what they wish to believe. In saying that, there are issues that I think that we have to address, because if there are certain communities that seem problematic, then we have to speak out and say, look, this is a problem. Jim Jones is a perfect example. I mean, that was it. That was a cult to the extreme level. If you don't know Jim Jones, look that up. I mean, it's a devil incarnate. But I mean, what he did to those people was terrible. And it was violent. It was vicious. And so we have to speak out when we see some form of injustice, or when we see something that we know is immoral and unethical. Then we have to say, whoa, no, this is a problem. Now, we have to be fair, because there are always opposing views. So let's make that clear. Also, I emailed Scientology, and I asked if any of their representatives would like to join us. There was no response. Now, to be fair, maybe they just didn't get the email. Okay. But regardless of what you may think, I said this in the invitation. So there we are. Tonight is Scientology. And we have some issues with Scientology. I really did a lot of digging there. And the more that I kind of dug through the layers, that was a problem. For those of you who don't know, Scientology is a religion. That's what it's listed as. Founded by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in the late 1950s. It is based on the belief that every human being is a spiritual being. Okay, that's fine. I'm good there. I'm good there. However, this is where it kind of gets like, huh? Every human being is a spiritual being called a thetan. a thetan, Thetan, thetan. And that individuals have lived many past lives and will continue to live future lives. So Scientology, it aims allegedly to help individuals discover and understand their own spirituality and achieve spiritual enlightenment. Now, let me say this. Also, to be fair, I did purchase L. Ron Hubbard's book. Here it is. And it's a thick book. It's massive because I bought it brand new called Dianetics. And because I wanted to read through it, and I did. I read through this entire thing. It's bat crazy. I'm sorry. There's all. Well, we're going to get into this because I'm sorry, but when you read it, it's like, oh, what in the world? So one of the central teachings in Scientology is the concept of the reactive mind, which is believed to hold painful and negative experiences from past traumas. So Scientology practices to rid individuals of this reactive mind. It's a process called auditing. And auditing involves, it's a one-on-one session with a trained auditor who asks specific questions to help the individuals confront and release their negative experiences. Now, tonight, we're going to go into detail, real detail about this. And our first guest, we'll be bringing him on in just a second. But our second guest is going to be coming on around 7:30 or so. And his name is Andy Porter. Now, Andy Porter was one of the bigwigs in Scientology. He was one of the big, I mean, he was a director. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And he has a lot to say about Scientology that's going to shock you. I mean, it's going to really shock you. But today we have an individual that I was, flipping through TikTok, and I saw this group of individuals, and they were outside the Scientology, the LA Center. And they warn people basically, hey, look, this is a cult. Don't go inside. Don't go inside. And so they have really given Scientology, I think, a headache, a major headache. And we'll talk about him. His name is Chris Without a Hellcat. Well, that's a hell of a name. Chris Without a Hellcat. He's an aspiring independent journalist, and he covers the LA area. And what I like about Chris is he's not disrespectful, even though he disagrees with Scientology, but he's not rude. He doesn't get in some people's faces. He's not cursing people out. He just wants to say, hey, why are you in Scientology? So, Chris, thanks for being with us. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Bishop, for having me. What's up, everybody? Yeah.
So, okay. First of all, I've got to ask, what Chris Without a Hellcat? By the way, that's the name. That's his name on TikTok. So you might want to follow him, everybody. How'd you come up with that name?
Yeah. Well, there's a YouTuber who I used to watch as a kid. His name was Omni in a Hellcat. So Hellcat is a car.
Oh,
right. It's a very trending car right now. Like all of the big rappers have it,
So I need to put my my clerics on and get a Hellcat, right?
Yeah,
go to LA. That would be interesting.
Can we make big news right there?
Yeah. Well, okay. So Chris Without a Hellcat. Chris Without a Hell, HELLCAT. That's all one word. So if you're on whatever format you're on, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRDB, Radio, Spreaker, whatever, TikTok, make sure you go to his site there. Go to his handle, Chris Without a Hellcat, all one word, and follow him. And I promise you, you guys are out. Before we talk about Scientology, you guys are outside, even in the rain. I've seen some of you out there giving the Scientologists a run for their money outside when it rains.
Yeah, they for sure think we're crazy.
Now, is there someone there outside all the time?
So they used to have security out 24/7, like whenever we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was their own security because Scientology doesn't like hiring third-party security because, they have so many confidential paperwork. You never know. But what happened was the first security guard that was there watching the information center on Hollywood Boulevard, he eventually cracked under pressure and disrespected Streets Delay and, brought up his son who passed away and told him, you're a horrible father. You're the reason your son was killed, and just terrible stuff, right?
Wow.
So that's really like out of character for them, right? Because that makes them look bad. So then, everybody started bringing up, like, his name was Angel. Like, they started bringing up his mom and like the trouble he had with his mom, and he started kind of, I think a tear came down his face, and everybody caught on camera, so he disappeared. Like, we never saw him really again.
Yeah, and people are asking on TikTok again, folks. It's Chris. It's Chris. Chris without. So Chris without a hell, Agllcat. So it's all one word. Chris without a Hellcat. Okay, so that's his handle. All right, from your perspective, since you're a journalist there in the LA area, can you explain the process of auditing? How is it supposed to benefit members of the Church of Scientology? What is auditing?
Yeah, so from what I understand, auditing, I've never done it before because I'm trespassed from every location, but they basically, you're holding on to this, it's kind of like a makeshift lie detector, and they're just asking you very like crazy questions, like very perverted questions, right? And you have to answer them truthfully, like, have you ever committed a felony that nobody knows about? And you answer it, and like there's like a little needle that goes up and down, and it's kind of more of a way, like, I would say it's kind of like therapy on steroids, but the information they get, they end up using it against you.
So they ask them very personal information just so they can.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like very personal questions. Yeah.
And now, of course, later on we'll talk about that in detail. So, how does the Church Scientology? This is not free, by the way. So, if you do these auditing procedures, how does the Church of Scientology then justify the cost that's associated with progressing through levels? So, basically, the point, from my understanding of auditing, is to get you free from this, whatever it is that you're struggling with, to get you the highest level. So, I mean, how much is this? Is this pretty expensive?
Yeah, it is pretty expensive. So I think it's like 200 to maybe 500 an hour, and sometimes you'll do it for 12 hours. So I don't know, like you're gonna be spending thousands for at least like a few auditing sessions. So the books are super expensive and all that. So
ultimately, they're trying to obtain this highest level. This OT level is what they call it. And OT stands for, by the way, for those of you who don't know, OT, they try to get to you the OT 8. That's the highest level you can get. OT stands for operating thetan, which is another kooky, crazy thing. Let's talk about that. What do you know about this? What is this thetan nonsense? Of course, I read the book, but teach. What do you think about this thetan? It's crazy.
Yeah, so pretty much Scientologists believe, like you mentioned earlier, like Earth is a prison planet, and our physical body is a prison for our mind. And I mean, our thetan, right? So every time we pass away, and they call it drop the body, they don't use the word like pass away or anything. They say, you drop the body, and your thetan goes to a memory wiping station where a bunch of psychiatrists, because L. Ron Hubbard hated psychiatry, a bunch of psychiatrists from the planet Farsay wipe your mind and put you back on Earth in a new body. And it's just an endless cycle of suffering. So the reason they justify the auditing is because they're telling you, like, hey, we know this is expensive and, it's taking up a lot of your time, but think about it. Once you reach the state of clear, which is their ultimate goal, the state of clear basically allows you to remember your past life in the next one. So it'd be a great investment, for people who believe it.
Oh, I see. That's people ask me all the time about reincarnation. And I always tell them the problem with reincarnation is the ultimate goal, at least for me, is get to heaven. And if I'm in heaven, why would I come back? And furthermore, reincarnation is all about, you're not supposed to repeat the same mistakes that you made in previous life. Otherwise, you can never reach that stage of nirvana. So it defeats the purpose. So that's how they did the workaround. You go through all these auditing sessions, and then all of a sudden, if you're cleared, you're going to learn the mistakes you've made in the previous life, so you don't repeat them in the next one.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow, what a crock of shit. Okay, so let me ask
I
you
know.
this. Well, let me ask you this. What is the church's stance on members who choose to leave or criticize the organization? I mean, how does the church respond to allegations, of these policies?
So pretty much they look at us like a bunch of criminals and crazy, addicts, addicted to substances. So that's really what they tell their public members, because the public members are the ones who are doing the auditing. They're the ones paying for all the courses. So whenever we're out there protesting, right, the people who work there, they're like, oh, don't pay attention. They're just crazy. They're loony, you know. They're addicted. So they call us declared SPs, and SP stands for suppressive person. And basically, we're trying to destroy their operation of trying to save the planet, because Scientologists believe that they're saving the planet.
How are they saving the planet by telling people that that an alien created them and throwing them right back into another body, and that you have to spend tons of money in order to be cleared so that you don't make the same? How is that fixing the planet?
Yeah, so they call it their mission is clearing the planet.
Oh,
that's what they call it. And it sounds like they're trying to destroy it, but no. So they're trying to have everyone reach the state of clear, right? So that way everyone remembers their past lives, and basically we're all like super smart. But basically their main goal is like, all right, we got to get everyone to the state of clear. So that way everyone becomes kind of like escapes the matrix. And then since we're countering their movement, they're like, oh, those people, they don't understand what we're doing, and they're trying to tear us down, but don't listen to them. They're just haters. They're trying to destroy our movement of saving the planet.
For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm speaking with an independent journalist. He covers the LA area, and he and his friends are they're out there in LA and kind of giving Scientology some grief, telling people don't go in. It's a cult. Stay away from them. And they've made an impact there. For those of you who don't know, on TikTok, his handle once again is Chris, CHRIS, Chris without a Hellcat. And it's all one word. And so you can actually go and watch them do their live presentations. And so let me ask, now, how often are you out there? How are you in front of the Scientology building?
Almost every day. It's become my hobby.
So is it a hobby, or would you say this is the passion now?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was a hobby, and then they had me detained because they called the cops. So Scientology, their tactic in their playbook is weaponizing the police. And they weaponized the police against me and made a false call saying that I had a BOMB. I don't want to say it out loud on TikTok. Mm-hmm. But the police showed up, and they were like, oh, sir, like, please stand right there. They handcuffed me, searched me, and it's just like this whole process, right? So after that, I became very passionate about it. It became personal. So like, okay, now I have to do this.
That's a false report. I'm surprised you haven't spoken to an attorney.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do. It was, I don't know. I guess I should speak to an attorney. Yeah.
You still can. I mean, it's certainly not past the statute of limitations. I mean, that to me, when I don't care who it is, but when an organization or any individual, anybody who calls the police and they file a false report, I mean, that absolutely warrants litigation. I mean, that's even if they don't like the fact that you're outside and you're telling people don't go in, that's still your freedom of speech. We have a freedom of speech in this country. We have that right. You're not hurting anybody. You're not impeding anybody's ability to walk through. So you're not blocking the way. You're just simply saying don't go in. Yeah. And so I think so. Let's talk about speaking of legal issues and abuse. Now, there have been a lot of rumors, a lot of allegations of emotional, physical, financial abuse within the church. So then how does the church then address, because they have to know that these accusations are out there, and are they investigating? What have you found as an investigative journalist? What have you found?
Yeah. So like all of the allegations are usually from ex-members who left the church. And then, they spoke out about it, and Scientology, they'll go as far as, having your pets poisoned. They've done that to a few people I know. They declare you as an SP. So obviously everyone within the church. So let's just say a lot of ex-members were born into it. Mm-hmm. They escape, and their family's still in it. The family that's still in the Church of Scientology are not allowed to speak. to their family who escaped, because they're declared SPs and they're going to like turn you straight from your mission. So a lot of members inside don't believe in Scientology anymore, but they're just still inside just so they can be with their family. But a lot of financial abuse, like elder abuse. So back in the day, there was this thing called the Chase Wave, basically where Scientology, like they had connections in Chase Bank, and they got all of their members, all of their public members, Sea Org staff, they all got like crazy credit card limits, because they knew someone inside Chase who would just approve it, like $60,000 credit card limits for someone with no income. And boom, everybody just started buying, Dianetics. Like, I don't know, they would just funnel the money to Scientology. And Chase, I think, sued them, or I'm not too sure, but basically all of Scientologists are basically banned from Chase that were in that thing.
And the SP, again, that's suppressive personality. So if you are a suppressive personality, you are considered the devil incarnate.
Yeah. Oh no, it's just suppressive person.
So okay, so if you are against it, if you speak against it, if you anything like this, you're considered a suppressive person. So basically, you're ostracized from or excommunicated, I guess, in their perspective, and you have nothing to do with that person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let me ask you this though. So we've talked about some the negative aspects, and that's fair. But can you provide any examples of how the Church of Scientology has positively impacted its members and the communities?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So, what's it called? They do a lot of PR stunts. So they have a lot of front groups funded by the Church of Scientology. So they have one, and the most notable one is the Drug Free Foundation here in LA, and I think maybe Arizona, other states too. But basically, they have like a whole campaign, like don't do drugs are bad. Here are the bad effects of it. They have like rehabilitation centers.
Okay.
But all they do is just teach you Scientology. I think another one is called Narcanon, where it's a prison rehabilitation program. So prisoners who go to prison, they have a lot of programs to choose from. Like, oh, what's Narcanon? Okay, let me check it out. Especially it's like Scientology, like self-help books. They have also helped out like areas of crisis. So I remember Mexico back in the day, like maybe 5 or less than 10 years ago, in Mexico City had a huge earthquake, and Scientology. So Scientology is big in the United States, number one, and number two is Mexico. And they helped out a lot during not a lot, they just give out like blankets and food, but they still did something. So one time when we were protesting, a guy from Mexico who was very passionate about Scientology came out. He's like, why are you guys messing with this church? They helped out Mexico during the earthquake. What did you do during the earthquake? But they just took PR.
Wow. Okay. Well, with all this negative attention that's being drawn to the church, and there is a lot of negative attention. So what are they doing to improve their public image? Because I don't really see them addressing the concerns or the critics.
Yeah, pretty much. I think what they do is just kind of hide away and wait for us to leave. Because 2008, Anonymous and a lot of protesters came out and protest. I think they protested for like 2 years.
Wow.
But eventually everybody has to move on to their life. And Scientology, they have the money to just kind of hide away. Because most of their money is not from the auditing. They actually kind of lose money off of all of their buildings and stuff. Most of their money is just from super rich people that are in the church and give them massive donations. Like Nancy Cartwright gave them $20 million over the span of 20 years.
See, but here's what I don't understand. We all know the celebrities. So, we all know that's a Tom Cruise and John Travolta. And we all know the famous people who've joined Scientology. Well, here's what I don't understand, Chris. Here's what I don't get. Why in the world do they accept a church that teaches that we came from aliens that dropped us in a volcano and that these souls then came into it is the most bizarre, the craziest concept I've ever heard. Why are people so willing to accept this? And not even that, but if you ask somebody about it, they get very angry. If you start talking about them, about Xenu and all this, they get very angry about that. It's like they're trying to deny what the church teaches.
It's because you could look it up, right? I think Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard never expected the internet where you could just look up something and learn about it in 20 minutes. So the whole bridge to total freedom is a very slow process. I mean, it's fast if you have a lot of money, but the whole Xenu thing, like most members do not know about Xenu. Like every member that escaped only finds out about Xenu until after they escaped, because that's something that like only the super, super high ups know. And they're not allowed to talk about it.
Oh, I see. Okay, so so you have to be cleared basically in order to actually understand what Xenu is.
Exactly. So Scientology is a pyramid, right? They have a pyramid on their logo. I forgot what it stands for. It's like the pyramid to like total freedom or something. Mm-hmm. But anyways, the pyramid, like at the very bottom, like let's just say Scientology as a whole, as a pyramid, the very bottom, like where most members are, it's just like a self-help community. Like at the very core of it, like the very bottom of it, it's just self-help. Then as you keep moving up the ranks, it just gets crazier and crazier, like your past lives, and like a lot of people disagree with us, but you're actually you're just constantly reincarnation, and you got to remember your next life. That's why you got to do this bridge to total freedom. By the time you hit that level, you're just so brainwashed that you can't understand it. You can't understand anything else.
Of course, again, we're talking about Scientology and the founder, L. Ron Hubbard, who was, and whether you like him or not, I mean, the fact is he was an amazing science fiction writer, meaning that he holds the Guinness World Records for the most published works by one author. Yeah, and he was, I mean, a profound writer. Again, whether you like him or not. Now, the website claims that they have 4.4 million new members every year, and they also, some people say, some critics, they place that closer to 25 to 55,000 members. But either one, they're saying that they've they've made that level, and that once you've reached that level of clear, the next level is operating thetan or OT, which is another 8 levels, and a lot of money, of money that requires. So I don't want to bash, but let's talk about, can you share any stories at all with individuals that you've met in LA who have said, okay, my life was actually improved by Scientology?
Yeah, I have met a few people like that.
Can you share at least some examples?
Yeah. So one of the guys, he was very passionate about it. He wanted to fight me. But, I'm a very calm guy. So I was like, hey, dude, like, whatever, man. He comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, like, why are you guys messing with Scientology? Like, you guys are very confrontational. Let's get confrontational, like, I got hands. And I was like, hold on, bro. Like, you know what? Let's talk about it. Because everybody else I talk to, they walk away from me. But you want to have a conversation with me. Like, let's talk. So he's talking to me and he's like, yeah, I'm from the south side of Chicago. I was a gangbanger. Wow. And so he's actually Nation of Islam. So Nation of Islam and Scientology are very close together.
Okay.
I don't know if Nation of Islam has programs in prison as well.
They do.
But
they do.
Oh, yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. So that's how they kind of funnel it into, like, first, they get people into Nation of Islam, and then it funnels into Scientology.
Oh. So did it help? Did it help him? Did Scientology help this guy that was in the south side of Chicago?
Yeah. So he said, I think he said he was like in and out of prison, and he fell into Nation of Islam, and it showed him the truth. And then he kind of started taking courses in Scientology. Mm-hmm. Once he started taking the courses of Scientology, he kind of realized that he needs to get his life together so he can make more money, so he could buy more courses and level up. So he started his own business. I mean, I guess it did help him, but like I said, at the very bottom of Scientology, it's just self-help books.
Okay, so let me ask you that, Chris, that I have to ask you this question. I have to ask you, if you've met individuals who have told you from their own personal experience that it helped them and it improved their life, are you conflicted then with going into Scientology and being in front of it and saying people don't go in, if you met people who said, hey, look, it really did help me?
Yeah. So those people, they're very low ranks, you know.
Okay.
So it does make sense that they help. It's like, you know, I would compare it to the mafia in the Great Depression, right? They would feed people,
Okay.
but at the same time, you know, at night they go around and, you know, blast around or funneling stuff. Or what's it called? Because Scientology, like a lot of the horror stories are from members who worked there. So the C organization, that's where all the horror is. Because I would say it's like this. Yes, they do help people, but with slave labor, you know?
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be interesting. Wow. So you have evidence that shows that they basically use their workers as slaves?
Yeah. So the Sea Org members, so there's 3 tiers in Scientology, really.
Okay.
The public members, they're the ones who are treated like kings and royals. Because I would say like a benefit of being in Scientology is you're in a community of people. Let's just say, right, devil's advocate, why is Scientology good? Let's just say I went to go join, take the personality test. They're going to tell me, hey, you know what? You're actually depressed. Here's everything wrong with you. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. They're going to like, you know what? You got to take these courses and come join us at our meetings. It's just a bunch of people trying to improve their lives. So that's pretty cool. But at the downside of it is everybody running those organizations and the workers there, they get paid. So they're technically religious volunteers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the reason Scientology is problematic is because, you know, one, they don't pay any taxes, but that's kind of easy to get. Like anybody could start a nonprofit. The thing is that they have religious protection because they've been like declared a religious organization.
Okay.
So when they have these, you know, religious contracts, like the billion-year contracts that Sea Org members have to sign, it's basically signing your life away and saying, hey, I'm willing to work, like be overworked and underpaid, and labor laws do not apply. The law doesn't apply to what they do because it's seen as a religious experience.
That is, wow. That is, you know, I definitely want to have you back on. I really would. This 30 minutes went way too fast, because I'd like to know if you're working on anything else. I would absolutely love to have you to bring you back on that, because I'm in Kentucky. Now, I've been to LA once. When I did a show there, I did LA, and it was a very interesting and weird experience. Weird experience from Kentucky. I mean, we have horses and bluegrass. That's what we have. It's a different world in LA, but I truly appreciate you taking the time and spending with us and talking about your experience. What are you working on? Are you going to continue doing the Scientology? Are you working on any other project?
Yeah, I mean, Scientology has kind of steered me into LAPD.
Oh, okay.
Because they work very closely together. So I guess it's just gonna be a stepping stone, I guess, into LAPD, maybe corruption with mayors and all that.
Do us a favor also, for those of you who are watching, look, these guys are going out there. If you are not a fan of Scientology and you're actually a fan of Chris and what he's doing and his friends out there, folks, do me a favor. If you support the show, which obviously you do because you're here, how can they offer any type of donations to help you so that you can continue doing what you're doing and shedding light on Scientology? Do you have a Cash App or PayPal, or how can they do that?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So all of our bios, my TikTok is currently private, but on my YouTube bio, I have my link tree, and all of the other members have their link trees that have all of their donation links. Well, we really appreciate it. You know, supports the cause.
Now, your YouTube, let me just go here real quick because I want to make sure I can pull this up. So, because I want to, because since we're live here, I want to make sure people. So, do I just type in Chris without a Hellcat?
Yeah, same thing.
Chris without a Hellcat. There it is. Oh yeah. Oh, and it says, and you can type in Chris without a Hellcat detained as well. So you can look at that. There it is right there. I'm going to subscribe. So Chris without a Hellcat. If you go to his YouTube channel, and there it is, his link tree is right there you'll see it. It's, if you click it, and it'll take you, what you need to do. So do them a favor, folks. Please go help them out. Go donate a few bucks here and there. They're trying to shed light on these things. And I think it's important. We have to have both sides, the good, the bad, the ugly. to be fair. So Chris without a Hellcat. So that's what you can do. Go on YouTube and just type in Chris without a Hellcat, and you'll see it. And then you'll see his link tree. If you click his link tree, there's plenty of information there where you can go and to help out. So please do that. So thank you, Chris, so much for jumping on with us. And yep, I see it here. I see your Cash App, your support with PayPal, your merch, your products. So please go do that, guys. That would be very nice, and he would appreciate that. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yes, sir. No, thank you so much, Bishop. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, you keep working hard, and I'll also keep promoting your YouTube and asking people to donate to the cause. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Bishop. Have a great day.
You too, buddy. All
Okay,
right, bye-bye. Well, that was very nice. That was really a cool guy, as you can tell. So again, if you go to YouTube and you just type in Chris, CHRIS, without a Hellcat, HELLCAT, and I learned tonight a Hellcat is a car. I don't know. I had no idea. So, but anyway, that's what it is. And if you click on it, the YouTube channel, and subscribe, and then click on the link tree. If you click on that link tree, all the information is there as far as where you can donate, and the PayPal, the Cash App, the merch and products. So that's awful nice. We'll have to make sure that we remind people of that, because he takes his time to do this, and so we appreciate him doing that. So, all right, the next guest we have on tonight is very interesting. And it's a pretty hard act to follow, because Chris was so knowledgeable on what he does as an investigative reporter in LA. He really gets to the heart of the issue. Andy Porter is our next guest. I'll be calling him just a second. And he's actually been on stage with David Miscavige. Now, David Miscavige is the big wig. He's the top dog that you see there on Scientology. He is the big. You don't get any bigger than David Miscavige. So he's been on stage with him, receiving awards, and he actually met David. He has some issues with Miscavige, and he'll talk to us about that. And it's quite interesting. Now, Andy actually recruited in Russia. So he recruited for Scientology in Russia, and the people that he worked with in Russia are still, by the way, in prison. Scientology has been shut down there, so Andy can't return. Now, he was very good friends with the third man in the church, Mike Rinder, who has a website. I believe something can be done about it. I forgot what it was, but there's a website, Mike Rinder. He's a third top guy. And he also knew the number 2 man behind Miscavige, Marty Rathbun. And he has, it's interesting what he has to say there. Andy was a level OT6. So we just talked to our buddy Chris. Remember, he was only 2 levels away from being OT8, which is the highest. So remember, OT stands for operating thetan. And the thetans they describe in solid Scientology, he says that they exorcise them from people if they're bad thetans. It's a type of exorcism. So we'll talk to him about that. That is fun. I'm telling you, this show, if you ever wanted to know about Scientology, you're not going to get better guests, in my opinion. This is as good as you get. So we're going to call him right now. He sent me a message, and hopefully he remembers. I'm a little delayed in calling him.
Hello, this is Andy.
Well, hello there, Andy. This is Bishop Long. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Fine. Thank you very much.
I am so glad that you are willing to jump on with us and talk to us about Scientology. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, Andy, I just and Judy Ann, she's in the chat room there on TikTok. Judy Ann is a superstar. Judy Ann is the one who was able to connect us. So Judy Ann on TikTok, thank you very much, Executive Madam Secretary. She really, really did a great job to be able to connect us, and so we appreciate that. I just had a great conversation with a young man. His name is Chris without a Hellcat. And I just learned a Hellcat is a car, kind of a big time car that people are driving. But anyway, he is an investigative journalist, he's an independent journalist covering the LA area. And he and other people go to the Scientology building, and they are having, kind of tell people, don't go into the area, don't go to the area. So of course we're live now, we're live on the air, and he really gave us some background information about Scientology. So, and I gave information that you knew David Miscavige, or at least you were on the stage with him, and you knew some big people in Scientology.
That's true.
Okay, here's what this is the million. Andy, look, first of all, how long were you in Scientology?
I was, when you say you're in Scientology, there's different levels. Like I listened to part of the interview you just did with Chris. So
Okay.
There's different levels of it, right? So you could be a public person, and you could be a staff member, and then you can be a Sea Org member. So I was a staff member for 20 years.
20 years.
Which means, 20 years, which means, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, basically, I was working for the church.
Okay, so here, since you were a staff member, obviously, if you were staff, it's a bit different if because you weren't living. I assume you weren't living on the premises. You were living on your own, like your own.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
so we're going to get into this because I've got to tell you something. I can't get over some of the craziness of the beliefs. So, why did you choose to join Scientology? What brought you to make that decision?
Well, let's see. I was born, I grew up in the 60s, and then in the early 70s, I was in high school, and, we were smoking some weed, doing some drugs, and reading books by Carlos Castaneda about Don Juan and eating cactus that would give you hallucinogenic, like, trips and stuff, and then, like, powers. You'd get powers from it. You wouldn't just, like, do trips and shit, you know what I'm saying? You'd, like, wind up with, like powers, right?
Wow.
To do stuff. And we all read those books, and it was like the coolest thing, man. Like, wow, like tripping's cool, but like getting superpowers is even cooler, right? So
Okay.
I had that mindset a bit. And then when I was 16, my mom passed away from cancer. My dad, I was from New York and New Jersey. My dad moved down to Georgia. I was supposed to go there and be in high school for my senior year. I went one day, and I really didn't like the South very much. I had my sister leave me off at the freeway the next day, and I run away. I hitchhiked to California, and I never went back.
Oh, wow.
So I traveled around and did a bunch of different things, backpacking and mountaineering. And then I found Scientology right after I got married the first time. And I think, the thing that interested me in it, I was walking down the street looking for a job, and I was accosted by a woman that asked me questions about my goals, and I went in and did a personality test, signed up for the communications course, and I wanted to improve my marriage. I wanted to be a better person. And when I learned a little bit about some of the tenets of Scientology, it seemed interesting to me, and I wanted to help other people.
Now, for those of you who don't know, for full disclosure, I did purchase the book, as I talked about earlier, the Dianetics, the L. Ron Hubbard book. I read that. And I did actually take the personality test too. And I did speak to an individual who was very, very kind, man, very kind. And I spoke to him, and he said that, the test he really was impressed. Of course, that's what he said. But I looked at it and did some research on it. And so, he says that I would benefit, obviously, through the process of auditing. So now Chris did a good job in explaining, but from your perspective as a former staff member, can you explain what is the process of auditing? How is it supposed to benefit members of the church, or is it complete and total nonsense?
No, it's not nonsense. I mean, auditing is just counseling. It's just counseling. It's just another word for counseling. It's like therapy. So the basic book, Dianetics, is the start of it all. In the book, Dianetics, the basic idea of it is that moments of physical pain and unconsciousness, or deep emotional loss, these moments, he has a name for them in the book. He calls them engrams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So an engram is a moment of, like you got hit by a car, branch hit you, your mom died, right? Your dog died, right? Like bad losses or like physical pain. So basically the idea of it is that these memories are stored in what's called the reactive mind. It's like the unconscious mind. And then these recordings can get triggered by all sorts of things in your current environment, and then make you replay the past. And so they can cause you to have all sorts of problems. And basically the idea of the book is that all of your problems in life come from these engrams. And if you could just get rid of them, right, it'd be like the clear. You talked about attaining the state of clear. The idea is that you The idea of clear is that you have on a calculator, you have a clear button. What does the clear button do? It clears off all the old answers, right? So the idea of clear is that by getting rid of these engrams, you would clear out these old, dusty conclusions and like crazy shit that's got, stuck in your brain, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd be like free of it. And then part of the idea of it, this is actually a really key part of it, is that when you start out in life, you're generally enthusiastic, right? You're young, you're a kid, you're like, dude, man, I'm like, shit, man, there's like things to do, right? And then, you get knocked around, you get screwed over, life happens, and you get, generally like less happy. So in Scientology, they say that a little different. They say that you start off at the emotional tone of enthusiasm. And then as you get beat up, you come down the tone, just generally in life. And, you adopt lower and lower tones. And because you've been beat up, you've had these engrams, you've had these things. But if you could get rid of them, you know what I'm saying? You'd just go right back up. You'd be like a buoy that was like moored underwater, and then somebody cut the cable and, you go right back up to the surface. And you'd be old and experienced, but dude, man, you'd be enthusiastic. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like ready for life. You wouldn't be all sour and grumpy like some, anyway.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Right?
Well, Andy,
so that's the idea.
Andy, let me ask you, I mean, to be honest with you, then, engram, we can, create terminologies or whatever, but that's basically your subconscious. That your mind has a way of controlling, obviously, the person or the brain, so that you won't have a complete and total meltdown. So it throws into the subconscious. So the engram is this painful memory that you've gone through that you still remember, either consciously or subconsciously. There. Oh, it's stuck.
Yeah.
And so, and then you can also, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like to me, and he kind of touched on this. It's also based on fear. So if fear is keeping you from being completely free, it's limiting your freedom, and there's an engram there, so you overcome those fears through, I guess, the auditing process. To me, then, this sounds like completely logical, and and why.
So the engram thing can cause you to have all sorts of problems. Like, let's say you were a kid and your father abused your mom and you watched it, right? Mm-hmm. So then you wind up with anger issues. It doesn't have to be fear; it could be anger. It could be any number of depression or drug abuse or any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the idea of it. And then in the auditing, in the Dianetics book, the original book with the volcano on it.
Right.
Basically the book lays out the concept, right? You've got these engrams and that's what's screwing you up. And then there's the process of auditing. And the book is a handbook, right? The Dianetics book is a handbook. The idea of it was that you would read the book and then you would partner up with your wife or friend or whoever, you know what I'm saying? And then you would audit them. So you would sit down with them and you would be the auditor. They would be what's called the pre-clear, right, or the patient or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then you would direct them to go and back and relive these engrams, right, and get rid of them and help free the guy of the engrams.
No, wait, hold on. Wait, so anybody can be an auditor? So you can be an auditor, I can be an auditor? I thought you have to, I thought that requires specialty or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, and when Dianetics started in 1950, Hubbard just wrote that book. Right. And then people were just co-auditing. People would just go out and buy the book and then go, shit, man, we could just audit each other. Right. So there was a lot of auditing. Like I lived in Russia for 5 years in the early 90s, where Dianetics was actually booming. And there would be Dianetics seminars. There'd be hundreds and hundreds of people all in one room auditing each other. You know what I mean? Putting each other through these engrams and running them through stuff.
How do they do that? So if you were to describe auditing, so let's say that I decided that I wanted to, someone says, hey, Bishop Long, I want you, because I read the book, and they say, hey, Bishop Long, I want you to audit me. So what does that process look like? What do you do? How do you do it? How does that work?
Well, I mean, the simplest process of auditing is we'd sit down in a quiet room somewhere and free a distraction and all that kind of jazz and make sure everybody's groovy and everything. And then I'd say, okay, so there's different commands that you use to direct the person's attention to the task. Like one of them is, you could just say, recall a memory that, you were uncomfortable. You could ask specific questions, like for example, can you recall a time when you had a loss? Was there a loss of some kind? You could sometimes do an assessment with the person, or like an interview first, where you interview them and you ask them about their life. That's kind of a normal thing. What's been this and what's been that. And then you can just return the person. You go, okay, so close your eyes. Good. Now return to the moment when you first found out that your dog died. And you get the guy to just close his eyes and go back in time and sit there and tell you what happened. So you tell the guy, good. So go through the incident, right? When you first heard that the dog died, right? Tell me what happened. So, okay. I'm there in my house, I'm watching TV, my mom comes home, right? And the guy tells you the story and so forth and so on. And so then you have him go through it, and then you have him go through it again. And you ask him for more details. And generally what happens is that as the person puts his attention on the incident, his attention time, and you ask him questions, his attention gets sucked into it. And in many cases, the person will start crying or feel the emotion of it and really sort of relive it, kind of like get them to like return. They use the term return. You want to return the pre-clear to the incident, right? And have them go through it. You like take a needle like stylus, like on a record player, and you put it on the record. And you get it to play back exactly what happened. And as the guy goes through it, he might experience and will generally experience the emotion of it and all sorts of stuff. And you keep having him go through it, right? You say, you go through it and you get to the end and you go, okay, great. Now go back to the beginning and tell me about it again. See if you can find any other details. And as the guy goes through it, the emotion tends to bleed off, right? The guy tends to like, oh shit, and cries and maybe he gets angry and then he's like, Anyway, so that's the idea, is that then the guy feels some relief, right? Because he went through the thing and confronting it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's the general idea, is that that's how the auditing process, the basic auditing process works. Returning the guy to the past, sucking his attention down to it, really getting him to replay it, relive it, and then do it in enough times until it's basically gone.
Okay, I can't support that, and I'll tell you why. Look, here's the problem, and I understand Scientology's view on psychology. I understand that, but you're asking individuals who are not trained in psychology and who are not aware of the trauma. I mean, you're asking. You're
opening up a can of worms, dude.
You're asking someone to relive perhaps even a PTSD moment, and these. Understanding the root, I understand the root of the anxiety, but the cognitive behavioral therapy is very, very dangerous. And that when you ask someone to relive that experience, and they have this PTSD moment, if you're not trained in psychology to help them escape from that existence that they were in right then, that to me seems incredibly irresponsible and very dangerous.
Well, there's many cases where people had psychotic breaks, while getting auditing, right? Where they just like lost it, right? Like what you're talking about.
That's terrible. See, I think that's irresponsible. Look, I'm all for, Andy, I'm all for, speaking to someone, and the engram, it makes sense to me logically, painful memory. Okay, I get it. The reactive mind, unconscious mind, I understand. Okay. But for people who are not trained in psychology to do cognitive therapy, it's so dangerous. And unbelievable.
I've done it in rooms where there's like 400 people doing it at once, man. You talk about a crazy place, man, dude. Anyway, no, you're right. I'm just laughing because it's just funny, that's all. But
I can't believe it. See, to me, that is unbelievably irresponsible. And I'm just going to put it out there. And I don't care. I don't care if I make people mad or not. But to be honest with you, if someone is auditing another person who has gone through extreme emotional trauma, and then that person is not trained in psychology and cognitive therapy approaches or treatment, I think their 501c3 should be pulled. That is an abomination, and that can cause irreversible damage to the person's psyche. and I'm really appalled. Really appalled.
Well, you haven't even heard the half of it yet, dude.
Well, okay. Now, let me ask you, Andy, and again, for those of you who's joining, I'm talking to my friend, Andy, he's a great guy. He was one of the top dogs there in Scientology for over 20 years. So he knows the ins and outs about the Scientology. If you want to get OT8, so again, OT8 means you're cleared from these engrams, you're cleared from these thetans or whatever the hell. How much would something like that cost?
A couple of $100,000, maybe 300, maybe 200, 300 grand. I don't know nowadays. It's crazy. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to explain one or two more things about
please.
Scientology. So basically, in the book Dianetics, you return the guy to these engrams, right, and you run them through. Okay, so let's say you're running them through an engram a couple of times and it's getting worse. So what you're supposed to do in Dianetics is you're supposed to ask the guy, you're supposed to say, hey, is there an earlier time something similar to this happened to you, right? You're supposed to see if there's an earlier similar incident, return them to it, run them through it, so on and so forth. So In the book Dianetic, he talks quite a bit about engrams that occurred in the womb, right, before you were born. And that's quite a bit of talk about that in the Dianetics book, prenatal engrams. And then after the book was written and people were auditing, a lot of people reportedly returned to past lives when they were asked the question for earlier similar incidents. And so reportedly, that's how the church came to being, right? And instead of it being a Dianetic center, it was a church because we're dealing with the spirit. So in Scientology, there's a whole bunch of other processes. Like in Dianetics, you're just dealing with moments of trauma, right? The process of auditing is just returning you to moments of trauma. Once Scientology was developed, there was a whole host of other processes that were developed. One of them is confessionals. Scientology is a heavy use of confessionals. And now, of course, the confessionals are used as a form of mind control and extortion in the church, which is really the extreme, horror of it that I saw when I was there.
Okay, so you spend $250,000, $300,000 to get this OT8, and now you have prenatal engrams in which the brain is not even fully functioning, and so somehow there's trauma within the womb, and so I mean, how one can expect to even know that is kind of a little strange. But all right, let's talk a little bit about the ugliness that you have experienced, because I know that you're not a big fan of the current director, David Miscavige.
Scientology, when I started, it was probably at 4 on that 1 to 10 scale of being a cult. I mean, all religions are somewhere on the scale, in my opinion. I figure Scientology was about 4. Now it's like 8.5 with Miscavige there. It's really gotten nuts. The last time I went down to Flag is the Scientology Center in Clearwater, Florida. It's called the Mecca of Scientology. It's the biggest Scientology center where public people go to attain the highest levels of Scientology.
Wow.
And they have all sorts of auditors there. It's a big thing. They pretty much own most of downtown Clearwater. So I went there with the intention of going through the process to get started on what was called OT7. And instead, I was put on a long process of what's called security checking, where they just put me on basically a lie detector and just kept questioning me over and over and over. And I spent probably $100,000 with them just constantly questioning me, despite my saying, no, I didn't do anything bad. And then they tried to extort money from me, and I basically was just lucky to escape. I mean, the whole process was so horribly demeaning. I couldn't even possibly imagine it. It was really horrible. I felt like killing myself at various points. I was so deep in the church with all my friends and relatives and my work and everything for 20 years that I just didn't even know what to do. And somehow I escaped at that point from Flag. And then it wasn't years later that I was able to sort of pry myself loose from it altogether and go through it. So it was really been a journey and struggle to get out of it.
So it sounds like to me you need a Scientologist to help you with all your engrams that you've gone through with Scientology. Which is how ironic is that? I mean, seriously, that to me is quite ironic. I mean, they're supposed to clear you from these engrams, and yet they're the ones that's actually creating these engrams with people like, I mean, $100,000 and OT7, you're trying to go for OT7. For those of you, again, he was talking, he was OT6, and OT8 means the highest order. So what does that mean, operating thetan? What does that terminology mean?
Well, the word thetan, Hubbard says it's from the Greek letter theta, and then he put an N on it, and it's supposed to be the noun. It just basically means the spirit or the soul.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. So in Scientology, they don't say that you have a spirit or a soul, right? They say you are one. So basically in Scientology, you are a thetan, which means you're a spirit or a soul, and you inhabit a body, and you have a mind attached. So there's 3 parts. There's the thetan, which is you, and then there's the mind, which is your collection of pictures and stuff, and then there's your body.
So the thetan is your soul, in essence.
That's you. That's you.
That's you.
That's totally you.
So,
and the idea of Scientology is that you will live independent of the body, right? The whole Scientology basically promises that you will be a Jedi and live forever and like a god. not like the God, but a God, and like Tom Cruise, basically. And that's basically the goal of Scientology, is to
Oh boy.
be
Well,
like that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, so you get to AOT8 and
Yeah.
you reach the highest level, and that's wonderful. Congratulations. You are now an OT8 operating Thetan. Yay, congratulations. Woohoo. So what happens? What is their explanation then? Because if the whole point is for you, you have to come back and relive your life so that you can obviously fix or repair the damage that's done in your previous life and become clear. Well, what happens if you reach that level, that OT8, and you're that perfect operating Thetan? So where do they think, what happens when you die, when you pass away? Where do you go?
Get a new body. Just, it's like reincarnation. Basically, you're just going to pick up a new body here on planet Earth and continue. Right, that's the plan.
But if you've reached the ultimate goal, if you've reached that goal of OT8, why on earth would they say, well, let's do it again? Yeah, because if the whole point of being cleared and reincarnating is so that you can be cleared, well, if you've reached the goal, then they're like, well, congratulations, woohoo! Let's blow out the streamers and blow out the cake.
There's always more, dude. Come on, man. There's more. There's more after OT8. OT8 is not the last thing. That's just
okay.
That's just as far as how. So no, that's the thing.
Okay.
There's supposed to be. Hubbard was talking about OT9 and 10 before he passed away, and there's a big controversy about this inside the church, right? Because a lot of people that left the church say there is no 9 and 10, right? It doesn't exist. But for like 25 years. There's been this giant promise from this cabbage in Scientology management. One day, we're going to let out OT9 and 10. And then, then this shit's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, just wait, right? You know what I mean? Just wait. And then what do we have to do to get it out there? And then that keeps changing.
I guess the concern that I have is from a logical perspective is if the end goal is to be cleared from the engrams, to be completely cleared, and then you pass away, and then for them to expect, well, the reincarnate, you're going to be doing it all over again. Well, why? I've already been cleared. So what is the point of going back and doing it all over again if the goal is to be cleared? I've achieved that. So why then come back and to possibility to make mistakes? And then they say, oh, well, now you're an OT1. Now you're got to go all the way back to the beginning and put another $300,000 in a pocket.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good questions. I don't really have any answers for that. I want to describe one more thing that I think might be interesting, and that is that, so when I arrived at Flag to start the OT levels, basically I was told, we need to see if you're eligible, right? So this is the thing they do. It's called eligibility. And the eligibility is that process of confessional, or they call it in the church a sec check or a security check. And so the process of security checking is where the person has you on more or less like a lie detector, right? You're holding 2 metal cans, which is connected to the e-meter.
Okay.
And the auditor is asking you direct questions. Have you ever stolen money, right? Have you stolen money from the church? Have you done anything discreditable to the church? Have you done anything to be embarrassed of? Have you, and they have like hundreds of questions they're asking you on the e-meter. And if they see any tick or read or anything that, I don't know what the hell they're seeing on the meter, I'm on the other side of the table, right? You know what I mean? But then they're supposed to stop and ask you and get you to like look and find it, right? You know what I mean? Find something, right, that you did. And I'm like sitting there going like, fuck, dude, I didn't do nothing, right? Like I didn't, whatever, right? But they're like, no, right? You got to look. So you're sitting there, and I spent like hundreds of hours doing this. I mean, like it was just unbelievably grueling. And so then you get out of these sessions, right? And then, but you can't say anything. You can't complain. Like if you complain, if you go, look, this, I felt like, I'm like, this is not cool, right? Then you know what that means? That means you have more crimes. That means you have more things to confess. That means you have more shit in the background that you haven't told us yet, right? So, and then when you're in the session, you're going back and you're looking at times that you did this in the past life, and you're supposed to find some moment in the past, like hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago, where you were overwhelmed as a being and adopted some evil intention or purpose. And that evil purpose or intention is here with you now in Scientology, causing you to commit crimes. And that's why Scientology isn't expanding. And they actually tell you that. And you're supposed to be looking for things like that. And it's all insanity. And you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what sec checking is. All these OTs go down there and they endure this thing. And then when you're done, you go see some teenager in the Sea Org, and he looks at you like, that character from the Matrix, right? Mr. Smith, looks like you have committed some serious crimes. And you have to answer to this little asshole. And then you have to give him money and then walk around and make amends and kiss ass and stuff to be begged to be let to do the OT levels. And that's what it's like at Flag. Every person down there I saw was going through that same thing. It was the most horrible mind control shitstorm of ugliness that I ever saw in my life. It was unbelievable. There were people really, really miserable from it. But nobody could say anything. Everybody walked around seeing everybody else in it, but everybody was too scared to say anything for fear that the other person would rat you out and you'd have to do another 12 and a half hours of sec check. So that's what it was like in Scientology at the end. It was horrible. It became horrible.
So you have an organization that tells you that they want to help you release these engrams so that you can be, that your mind can be clear, that this doesn't weigh you down, and that's fine. That's good. Okay, we're good there. Yeah, but then they turn right around. They turn right around, and then just abuse you basically.
Yes.
Psychological.
It was absolute abuse. And I was paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for it.
So anytime, do they take in consideration of perhaps maybe you're nervous? Again, for those of you who don't know, I'm talking to Andy Porter. He was in Scientology for 20 years. He was a staff member. He was actually in Russia. He was recruited in Russia. So he's been around and he knows the ins and outs of it. But it seems to me that, do they even take in consideration that when you're doing this lie detector test and you have all this money invested in and you're afraid, you're stressed, do they even take in consideration that the stress levels are going to increase?
No. It's just insane. Like the whole idea is you're supposed to be there to go free. They all this promo and marketing is all like, come to Flag. It's glorious. Go free, right? It's all, and then you go there and it's not like that at all. It's horrible. It's like a torture chamber.
This is terrible. And, I asked Chris the question. We all know about celebrities. We know the Tom Cruise, we know the John Travolta and Priscilla Presley, and we all, a bunch of other famous people going to Scientology. We all know that. Okay. Yeah. Why are these people they are influential? They certainly are, and they're famous, and it doesn't mean they're the most intelligent individuals, but put that to the side. Why are these individuals so deeply almost possessed by this church to where they would never speak against it? They have the money to say, hey, the Scientology, if you want to say something, you want to go to battle with me, I'll go to battle with you. I have the means, the financial means to hire as many attorneys as you can. So why do they put up with it? What is in it for them?
Most of the celebs that are in it, it's funny to say Tom Cruise is just crazy. So we can just take him off the table because he don't count, right? I don't know what the hell the deal is with him. But the other ones, I think that some of them, there's a possibility to get personal gain out of it. You know what I mean? It depends upon how you're treated. Celebrities are definitely treated differently. I don't think the celebrities are put through the same grueling process of, 12 intensives of sec checking to get on OT7 like I was. I'm pretty damn sure that's not happening to them. So I think that's part of it. I've been to the Celebrity Center. There's a place called the Celebrity Center on Franklin Avenue in Hollywood. It's a glorious castle that's been refurbished, and Scientology has it for celebrities. And it's really nice, man. Everything is like first class. I've stayed there a bunch of times and done stuff there. And they treat people real nice there, right? And so that's part of it. I think they treat people nice. Another one is that once you get in, you wind up with an entourage of Scientologists that totally surround you and sort of keep you in the circle. Like John and all those other guys have got a whole host of people that are handlers and so forth and so on that take care of them. They're pampered.
And but you would think, though, but seriously, you would think. So explain to everybody, I guess in a nutshell, about how he said that it all started, about these Xenu or this alien, and can you explain in a nutshell that aspect of Scientology?
Yeah. Watch this. First of all, I'll definitely explain it, but if you ain't seen the South Park episode of Scientology,
okay.
Oh my God, you got to watch it. It's the funniest thing ever. But it explains the OT3 thing. That's about the aliens. What's on South Park is actually pretty accurate, which is funny.
Wow,
right?
that's kind of scary.
But anyway, so I know. But when you get in Scientology, the whole goal is to go clear. And once you get started, then you find out that above clear, there's these secret levels, the OT levels. And it's all secret. Like in Scientology, you're never allowed to talk about them, except like what gains you get out of them. Oh my God, right? So anyway, and everybody talks about OT3. OT3 is called the wall of fire, right? You do OT1, 2, and then 3. Okay. Oh my God, it's the wall. It's secret. They really make a big deal, or at least when I was around, they did about hush hush and all sorts of stuff. So finally, you know, you get on the course and you get in there and you go, oh my God, you're so excited. And you read these materials. They're handwritten materials by Hubbard. And he basically says that, I may have the dates wrong, but 73 million years ago on some other part of the galaxy or something, there was like a bunch of planets, and the planets had too many people. And so they wanted to get rid of a bunch of them. And they kind of gathered up all the people that were like troublemakers or, you know, whatever, like artists. I don't know something like that, some sort of narrative like that. And they got like zillions of them. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell are we going to do with all these thetans, these beings, right? They're thetans. And so what are we going to do with them? So they decided to bring them to Earth and stick them in volcanoes and blow up atom bombs, like a shitload of atom bombs. Like, I'm not making this up. This is right in the materials, dude. Like a shitload of them, right? And the volcanoes were in the Canary Islands and in Hawaii. So those are like, dude, don't go there. You know, that's bad shit over there. Anyway, so the volcanoes blew up with all of these zillions and zillions of like beings and stuff. And so what happened is that incident was so bad and so horrible, and the explosion was such a big deal that most of the beings were rendered in a state of just total like semi-consciousness. They're like beings, but they're like almost like inanimate objects. They're just like, you know, asleep, right? And some of them are still kind of alive. And so these thetans that are kind of asleep, right? They're kind of like not really with it. They're not like they're not like controlling a body. They're, you know, like just dead, kind of half dead. So these thetans, these beings, they're like, they basically get on you. They're like, they can get attracted to a thetan like you and me. Like, we're bigger thetans, right? Like, we're controlling bodies and making shit happen, right? So we're big thetans. So these other thetans, they're called body thetans. The body thetans are the ones that are still screwed up from the big explosion from when they put us all in volcanoes with the atom bombs, right? So those guys, they're like all over, right? They're like demons basically, and they're like on you, in you, they're near you, and they're just like people. They're just like thetans, right? And so they can like have emotions or feelings, and then those emotions and feelings and urges and all sorts of stuff get mixed up with you, and so you think that you want to do this, but it's not really you that wants to do it. It's just one of those nasty body things stuck to you. You know what I'm saying? He's stuck to you like glue, right? And so they're all over the place. There's body thetans, and there's clusters of them. And so, you know, so the idea of OT3 is that you go and you basically spot them and talk to them and get them to like buzz off. You know what I mean? So you're basically, you know what you're doing? You're exercising them. You're exercising the body thetans. And that's really what all of the OT levels is about, talking to these body thetans and clusters of them and telling them, you know, just basically getting them to go on their merry way and leave you the hell alone. And because you can get rid of all of those body thetans, oh my God, there's so many of them, that then you achieve a state of like comfort.
So now, and you are an OT6. So now can you get OT4 without fully understanding the OT3 level? So, I mean, would you?
Oh, no. Hey man, I did OT3.
So no. What I'm saying is, if you're OT3, could you possibly get to OT4 and just know very little about OT3, but not a whole lot? Or do you have to pretty much know everything you need to know about OT3 level before you progress to OT4?
When you do the OT3 level, you study some stuff in the classroom, and then you get an e-meter, and you spend weeks or months by yourself, auditing yourself with the e-meter, looking for body thetans. Okay,
gotcha.
So you spend like months sitting in a room with the e-meter in one hand and a pen in the other, running a process where you're asking yourself to look for body thetans that are on, near, or somewhere around you. Okay. And then talking to them in such a way as to exercise.
So now, what was your official title? While you were in the Scientology, what was your official or director, associate director? How do they even use those terminologies when you were in Russia?
Sure. Oh, yeah. I had all sorts of cool titles. I was at first I was a body router. So I went out on the street and body routed people in. Then I was a test evaluator. I was a good test evaluator. Okay. So I was the dude that went over the personality tests.
Okay.
And I would say I'm an expert at that. And then I was the registrar. So I was a registrar. It means I signed up new people. Then I became the executive director of the Church of Scientology mission of Bellevue. And then I was the executive director of the Church of Scientology of Washington State, the big one in downtown Seattle for a few years. Then I became a full-time pioneer or missionary for the church. And I went and lived in Russia. And then I did pioneer activity for the church in Africa, India, Fiji, all over the place. And then, so I was a spokesperson in those places. I was on TV. I did media. I talked about it. I did Dianetics and Scientology workshops. I worked with the military in different countries, all kinds of stuff like that.
So obviously, being an executive director in branches, and pretty much, folks, for those of you who are wondering, I think it establishes his credibility pretty well. We're not talking about an individual who just kind of, just bought a book and went in a couple of times. We're talking about an individual who's been in there for 20 years, who is an executive director and also recruited. So he pretty much knows the ins and outs of Scientology, the good, the bad, the ugly. But let's be fair. Let us be fair. As we asked Chris earlier, do you believe, in your opinion, do you think Scientology has ever truly helped anybody, or do you think in the end it is destructive?
Scientology has helped people for sure. I mean, all sorts of people got into Scientology on, it just depends upon how long they stayed in it. Chris had one interesting observation there about the different levels of it, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, if Scientology were all destructive and all bad all the way through, nobody would ever.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There had to be something good about it. And there is something, or there was anyway. It's been abused and beaten out of it, in my opinion. The people, that's one other thing I want to point out. The people that are still in it, the main reason they hold on is because they think that they saw, or they did see, or whatever. You know what I mean? Some gain from it. And there's this idea in Scientology that, it might be messed up, you know what I'm saying? But hey, it's still the best thing out there. And so you don't want to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to say anything really that bad about it, even though it's messed up, because it's the only hope and the whole thing that we have, blah, blah, blah. So, but sorry, I got off track there. What was your question?
I think
about people getting help from it.
Right.
When I was there at the mission in Bellevue for years in 1980s, I'd see people come in and maybe they would have a specific problem. And they would say, look, I got a problem with this or that. And they would get some auditing. And I seen people real happy with it, go out, not come back. I mean, they just would come, get auditing, and hey, it worked. I'm happy. And I see them later and they were fine. I mean, I seen people come and do courses, but they didn't keep doing it. When you get stuck in it, right, you get convinced that you have to keep going. That was the part that was just insane. And then when Miscavige took over, it just went from, like I said, from 4 on the cult scale to like 8.5.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of rumors, and there's a lot of people are asking about Miscavige's wife and some other issues. I don't know anything about that. I have no clue. I don't know if you want to touch that with 10-foot pole, or if we're just like, I don't know. I don't know anything about Miscavige's wife. So,
Miscavige's wife is just in some Sea Org base somewhere. She's just there. She may or may not be under guard. I mean, the big Sea Org base in Hemet, California has, barbed wire and razor wire around it. You know what I mean? Wow. And guards at the gate, right? So, she's around. A lot of the people that are still in Scientology, believe it or not, some of them still think Hubbard's going to come back.
Mm.
Some of them actually are there, and they think that Hubbard's going to come back and get rid of Miscavige. I swear to God, some of them think that.
There's a lot of folks who are asking great questions. Can you stay with us just for a little bit longer, if that's okay?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody's got. Just go for it.
Because people are asking, and it's some really great questions. And if you have questions, you guys can join in and throw them out there. But there's one good question that I just saw on TikTok. Why all the secrecy? It just seems to be so much secrecy with Scientology. What do you think that? Why? What's the point?
To me, it's all just about marketing. Make it a secret. Like, oh, what is it? Oh, we can't tell you. You know what I mean? You
Gotcha.
gotta like, hey, it's a secret, right? And you're like, oh shit, no, I'm not telling you, right? It's just like a mystery sandwich. You just get sucked in, right? As near as I can tell in all my experience in Scientology, that's the only really reason for it.
So, and again, this is information that you guys you can take it with a grain of salt. You can throw it. This is educational purposes only, and of course, I think we have to talk. There's nothing. It's you have to be. Andy has been in. He's no longer been for 20 years, and he just said, yeah, there are some bad things in there, but there's also some good things, in that he actually witnessed Scientology truly help people in their auditing process. So, I think it's what you get out of it. So let me ask you this: if a family member came to you and said, "Hey, Andy, I heard you say on the radio that there were good elements to Scientology, and I've been thinking about joining it," what would you say to them?
I would laugh and I'd say, just read. There's a way to do Scientology without going into the Scientology church, right? There's an independent Scientology people. There's people that do Scientology auditing that aren't part of the church. I mean, I'd probably tell the person, if they really, read some of Hubbard's books and want to give it a try, find some of those people, but don't go anywhere near the church. It's poison. It is poison from top to bottom, corrupted.
So do you still offer auditing for people?
Oh God, no, I haven't done any auditing on anybody since I left the church.
And a lot of people say that, especially with the lie detector, the testing that you're talking about in Florida, that they ask some really personal and private, invasive questions. Some people even say, about the private lives, and to get the information.
They ask you every question you can think of. Have you ever been a homosexual? Have you had sex with this person, that animal? They ask every question you could possibly think of. There's nothing under the moon, sun, or stars that they do not question.
So why do they need to know your sexual orientation? If you say, I'm a homosexual, or no, I'm not a homosexual, what if you were doing an auditing, or you were and someone said, yeah, sure, I'm a homosexual? What does that mean to that person?
Well, in the books by Hubbard, he has a very, very negative view of homosexuals. He says that they're, I'm just telling you what Hubbard says in the book, right?
Sure,
so don't get mad at me or nothing. No. But he says they're perverts and they should be sequestered. And he couldn't say enough bad things about homosexuals. As a matter of fact, in the book Science of Survival, he goes over it quite thoroughly, like 100 times, right? Like he talks about homosexuals and how they're, aberrated. He says it's all an aberration. And he goes over it and over it and over it. Now, the church will say that they don't say that and so on and so forth. But if you're a Scientologist and you come out and you notice none of them said they're gay. You ever heard of a Scientologist say he was gay? No, because there's none, because it's not allowed, right? They would audit it out of you.
And what if a person says, "Look, you're not going to audit it out. I mean, this is who I was. I was born gay, so you can't audit me out." So would they eventually just kick you out, or how does that work?
I don't know what they do now. I mean, with the number of people, like things have changed, right? In the old days, yeah, they would have. They would have basically said you're a pervert, get lost, right? That's what they were doing in the past. Now, what they do now, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that they've changed their tune a bit, right? But you hope so. But I don't know what they did. I mean, they're crazy, so who knows, right? But when I was there, it was very harshly looked at. I mean, it would be looked at something to confess, right? It wouldn't be something you were proud of. It would be something that you were expected to be ashamed of, right? In Scientology. So that's how they actually viewed it.
Okay, now you had mentioned that because of the current leader, but perhaps maybe, let me just throw this out. If let's say leadership has changed, there is a complete total 180, and there's a total change in Scientology, and they do things the way perhaps you think they should. Would you ever consider going back?
Well, first of all, Scientology have to give back a lot of money. They have taken so much money from people, literally billions of dollars that they've collected from people across the planet. And Scientology was going to try to get honest and straight. They would have to give that money back to the people that they fleeced for it and that they've taken the money from. I think there maybe could be some reorganization of the technology in such a way, of course, that could be a benefit to people. What I've seen in my experience with humans on this planet so far is that anything good tends to get corrupted by them. And if you don't watch them carefully, it gets corrupted pretty badly, right? So I think that's pretty much a maxim in everything having to do with humans. But so I don't know how long it would last, you know. I think that it'd be, you know, I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't volunteer to be part of it at this point, but
Okay.
there's definitely some good to it, and there's aspects of it that I think are beneficial, and that was what made it successful to begin with.
Do Scientologists believe in God?
No,
Really?
no, they don't. Basically, they might say something else, right? You know, the PR guys will say, "Oh yeah, we believe in God, and you can have your own religion," and that's not true either. You can't. The idea in Scientology of God is they say, okay, there's 8 dynamics in life, 8 urges. So there's yourself, you know, your spouse, your group, right? Mankind, all the animals and plants, the entire physical universe, spiritual universe. And then the 8th dynamic is the supreme being or God. But Scientology is careful not to intrude on this, and it's sort of all up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Scientology doesn't say anything about it. And it's sort of like, you know, no, God is not part of it in any way, shape, or form. No.
But that 8th entity you're talking about is some supreme being, whoever you call it, but they don't define it. That is God. They just say whoever you define it, whether it be God or Buddha or whatever it might be. So they kind of leave that up to you.
Or it doesn't even have to be God. It could just be like eternity or infinity or
Okay.
something. You know what I mean? It's sort of like some nebulous, like we're not going to really talk about it. It's not really important. You know what I mean? It's like the 8th dynamic, like you got other 7 to worry about. Like, let's work on them. And then like later, maybe you'll figure out the 8th, like when you figure out the first 7 or something.
So if they're
That's
not
sort
gonna,
of how they say it.
if they're not going to mention God, the counter to that is, do they even consider that the devil exists?
No God, no devil. Definitely not part of it. In fact, in some of the teachings of Scientology, in fact, I think in OT3, matter of fact, that's true. In OT3, Ellen Hubbard says specifically that the religion of Christianity and all of Christian stuff is part of the OT3 implant. It's part of the trap of OT3. When we went through the volcanoes and we got blowed up, we also got sort of implanted with different traps and different like mind control, like traps in our brains. Well, we don't have brains, in our minds. And these implants, right, cause us to have constant conflict. The reason that we have constant conflict on planet Earth and all this fascination with these religions that Hubbard said were crazy is because of the volcanoes and the bombs and all that jazz, right? So he says that Jesus and God and, you know, all of that Christian stuff is all just part of the religious implant from OT3. That's what he says. That's exactly what he says. I'm not making that up. That's exactly what he says.
Well, there we go, folks.
Yep.
I think this has been a profound conversation, the good, the bad, the ugly of Scientology. So based on this information, and again, this is why I wanted to present this to you, because I wanted to have guests on that was an investigative journalist that is not a member of Scientology, but he gives his perspective. And also I wanted to have Andy on, who actually was in for 20 years and almost made it to OT7. So, and that, which is important. Well, that's important because obviously, if you've been there for 20 years and an executive director of several branches, you know, it's pretty crucial. Pretty crucial. But is there anything at all that we've left out that you want to discuss, that you want to mention?
One of the ways Scientology went from like 4 to 8 on the cult scale was this thing that started with Miscavige with extorting money from people. And it's really an ugly thing. And it sort of went like this, right? So at one point in the late 80s, Scientology had problems with the IRS. And they came along and they had this thing, they called it the International Association of Scientologists. Oh, okay. So look, the IRS is going to close us down. They would like call us all together. Like I was on staff and they would have these closed door meetings and all Scientologists in Seattle were required to come. It's like, oh my God, the end of the world. You got to come. You got to come. So we'd go and they'd say like, okay, so, you know, we're going to like the IRS is closing. It's like tomorrow. Okay. Like when we need money and we need money to like protect ourselves. Right. And so they'd go around and they started this IAS, this International Association of Scientologists. And then to be a member, like a lifetime member was $2,000, and to be like a patron, patron was $40,000, right? So they're running around and they're just getting everybody to pay 40 grand, right? For what? For nothing. You don't get nothing back. It's not like you're getting, like before when you paid 40 grand to Scientology, you got a whole host of auditing or courses or something. You had an account. You know what I mean? I paid for this number of hours of auditing or this many classes, but the 40 grand now is just gone, man. You're just giving it to them, right? So, they made all this money, right? They're like, holy God, look at all the money we got. So how do we keep this? How do we keep this commotion? How do we keep, they basically solved the IRS problem. They got recognized as a church. So, but they made all this money doing it. So they're like, how can we keep this shit going, right? So they start going around with this IAS, and they going around to all the Scientology centers all over the planet, and they do these IAS events where you have to come, and it's closed door, and then they'll say, look at the evil people, the psychiatrists, right? This government, they're after us. They're going to close us down. And you got to pay. And they would say, like, okay, we got to raise 100 grand tonight. Okay, 100. You hear me? 100 grand. We're closing the doors. They would physically lock the doors and then say, look, we ain't leaving, baby, till we got 100 grand figured out. You know what I'm saying? And then you were supposed to stay. And you'd they would salt the audience with people that were going to pay. And then they'd try to make you feel guilty. And they'd call on you. And they'd come to your house. They'd come to your house at night. And so, dude, man, we're going to die. Scientology's under attack. You got to pay. And so it was just crazy. And they'd done this all over the world, right? I've seen it. I've been part of it, so on and so forth. And then there's one last scam to it. So then they start going, okay, look, the Dynamics and Scientology centers, the physical ones, like the ones that, they're not very nice. They're really kind of run down, right? They don't make any money. So what they would do is they'd come and they'd say, okay, all you guys that are Scientologists in Seattle, you love Scientology, right? We're like, yeah, we love it, right? We love it, baby. Okay, if you love it, then, we need a new building. We need a brand new building, big one, right? Big one. The Scientology did, right? And so you need to donate. So they would get people to donate the money for the building. And that was it. You were just supposed to donate the money. And they would do the same thing. So they figured out how to prolong the scam of just getting people to donate money. And they would get people to donate their kids' college fund and all sorts of stuff to pay for these buildings for Scientology. And that's what they've been doing for the last 20 years, is basically just stealing the money from people and saying it's a straight donation for either IAS or for the building fund.
So let me ask.
They have been doing it.
So
it's really totally cult stuff.
So there was a question in the chat room, and because I've heard the rumors. I've even read them online that there is, and again, this is just your perspective on what you've seen as a former executive director at the Scientology. So we talked about the mental abuse. We've talked about that. So was there any type, did you ever see, whether or not they're a Sea Org member or whatever they were, did you see any physical abuse?
No, I didn't ever see nobody get beat. I read all them stories about people in the Sea Org and David Miscavige beating people and stuff. But in my experience, no, I never seen nobody get beat or hurt or anything like that.
Okay. So, and also now there is, I know in LA, there are individuals who are from other countries, and obviously they're on religious visas. And the group of people with the Chris with the Hellcat, without a Hellcat, his group of friends there, they talked about individuals there that had or that have religious visas, and that basically these poor folks, they're working from sun up to sundown. I mean, they're every 7 days a week outside trying to recruit people to come into the building, and of course they also live on campus. Do you have any idea, or do you know what? Because this is a big thing. Do you have any idea what goes on inside of those dorms? Because I have read, and they've even have pictures of a video where, there's like bunk beds, sometimes 6 to a room, so that, guys have to, sleep 6 people to a room. Do you know what do they do there? I mean, obviously they believe, the belief is they don't watch TV, they don't have internet. So do you have any idea what these people who live on campus, what are they? Because the shades are always closed. You can never see in. Unless there's no
TVs. There's no TVs. They don't have phones. Those people don't have phones. They're not allowed to have a phone that gives them outside access. So those people that live in the Sea Org and live in those dorms, they just go there to sleep. There's maybe 6 to 10 people to a room. Maybe if you're married in the old days, you could get a room by yourself, but who knows if they do that anymore. And That's it. It's just a dormitory. That's it. It's just a
Wow.
dormitory. And you just go there to sleep, and then you get up in the morning and you go back to work.
And now I was told, now again, I don't know if this is true, but I was told that these individuals, I think they're working sometimes 14 hours a day, which that they do have. They've shown video, but also like $57 or $47 a week or something like this. This is how, I don't know how they found this out, but that's what they're saying, that these individuals are not actually paid a salary, that they're actually paid like $47 a week, working 16 hours a day. Can you validate that? Do you know if that's true?
Yeah, it's true. That's totally true.
Wow.
Let's see, what year is it? 2024.
Wow.
In 2020, I wound up having cancer. I had stage 4 throat cancer. I went through chemo and all sorts of stuff, and radiation therapy. It was quite brutal. And the brutality of it for me was, God, I would lay there at night. I couldn't sleep forever. All I would do is relive all the moments where I had misused people in my life, over and over, just killing me. And the moments that really came up the most and made me squirm in my cancer-ridden skin the most were the ones when I was in Scientology and I recruited people. I recruited a lot of people that joined Scientology and joined the Sea Org. And I was responsible for a lot of those people that you're talking about that joined on the religious visas from Russia. And they went to flag in different places, Sea Org bases. And they were totally used as slave laborers. They were paid nothing. They were promised, they were basically told, you're going to come to flag and you're going to help us clear the planet. You're going to be an auditor. You're going to do all these fantastic things. But they were tricked right from the very beginning because the recruiter there knew full well that they were going to work for a part of the organization called Flag Crew. And all they were going to do was do laundry and drive and cook. And they absolutely knew that right up front. But they didn't tell any of that to those people. They promised them some other sort of profession or job or something in Scientology. And when the people got there, some of these people had given up like their professions in Russia and other countries to go there and work for Scientology, thinking that they were going to be some part of some noble cause to help clear the planet. And instead, they were just assigned to be janitors and clean rooms and just do that kind of crap. And I've seen tons of those people, and I'm bitter about it. And they treated people horribly, and they still do it.
So now, I know there is a 1,000-year contract. Someone was asking about that earlier in the chat.
Billion.
A billion. So it's a billion-year contract that you have to sign with the Sea Org organization. Is that correct?
Yes. I tried to join the Sea organization, but they wouldn't let me.
Was there a reason why you couldn't join the Sea Org?
Yeah, they said that they wouldn't let me join the Sea Org because they had a requirement then that you couldn't have taken LSD. So,
okay, what is it? Can you tell everybody, what is the Sea Org organization? How is that different than the staff? What is the Sea Org organization? What do they do?
If you're like a staff in say if you, like when I worked at Scientology centers in the Seattle area for many years, and all the staff members just had regular jobs and homes. They just, had a place to live or apartment or whatever. Maybe their spouse had a different or a better job, and that was it. It was just like you went to work and that was it. Now in the Sea Org, it's like a religious order. It's like you're a monk. You join, you go there. They have different bases, right? And so then you're there, like, you're in the base. You've signed up. You've signed your life. You've given away, your finances and stuff. The church has you liquidate your assets. They want you to liquidate your assets before you join the church and give it to somebody or give it to them. Actually, I actually give it to them. And then when you join, you live on the base, and you're there 24/7. I mean, your whole life there from that point forward is in doing Scientology every day, every minute. And those are the people that get paid $47 a week. Is that right? Or it might be 47, 57. I'm not for sure the number, but those are the people that get 47 or 57 a week. Yeah. I knew a guy that worked at the Flag Land Base and in the Sea Org there for a while, and they would get paid $40 or $50 a week. And then at the end, one of those middle management guys from the Sea Org would come and he'd say to him, look, David Miscavige is going to have a birthday and we want to buy him a motorcycle and we want you to give us part of your $40 that you got a week to pay for his motorcycle. I swear to God. I mean, he told me this and I'm just laughing hysterically like, you are shitting me, dude. And he says, no. I mean, it happened over and over and over and over and over. And you were expected to do it. You were expected to do it. If you didn't do it, you got a little mark next to your name. You know what I'm saying? We're going to look at you later. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Like you got answering. You know what I mean? You ain't giving money to the boss. Like, what's the matter? Hello?
And
that's a bad indicator. We need to sec check you some more.
yeah, folks were
I mean,
saying
it was really run like that.
Sea Org, SEAORG. So now, what about, here's a great question someone was asking, a lot of great questions. What about medical treatment? Now, I have heard and I have read that they have their own medical facility there or whatnot. And can you tell us from your perspective, you were there for over 20 years. Do you know anything about, do they refuse medical treatment? How does that work? Do you know?
The people don't have insurance. I don't know how it works in Florida. Like at Flag, I think the people are just on Medicare, Medicaid, right?
Okay.
I think they're just on whatever state thing they get. I don't think they're insured by the church. And I think a lot of the older staff in the Sea Org really suffer from, lack of any kind of real health care.
No, I mean, are they allowed to go to are they allowed to go to the doctors if they have a sore throat?
Yes, they're allowed.
Okay.
I mean, like if
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to go just if you have, a sore throat or a stubbed toe, but I'm sure they're not going to disallow a person from going to the hospital. But
there you go, folks.
it would be a tedious thing, I think. Like you probably have to get approval to go see the doctor.
Sure, especially if you're in the
Maybe
Sea
somebody
Org.
would even come with you to make sure you didn't run away when you went.
Yeah, especially if you're in the Sea Org, because if you have a million-year contract and you're sick and you're like, look, I need to go to the doctor. So they wouldn't deny you to go see a family physician or nurse practitioner. They wouldn't deny you, or would they?
No.
Okay.
No, as far as I know, they wouldn't, they couldn't, and they haven't.
There we go. So yeah, that was a good question. I appreciate.
Maybe there's some coercion to, buck up and just work harder or something. But I think in the end, if the guy was sick, he'd go to the doctor for sure. Yeah.
So Judy Ann is asking. There's a lot of folks asking, how did you? Because we know that it's difficult to leave. So you're in there for 20 years. You're an executive director in several locations. You're a recruiter in several different countries. How did you get? We talked about why you left because of the OT7 situation in Florida. Well, how they just were harassing you. And so how did you get the nerve, first of all, to say, that's it, I'm walking away, I'm done? How did you leave? Because he was not a part of the Sea Org, everybody. So David wasn't, he was a staff member. So how did you do it? How did you say, that's it, I'm done, and you cut all ties?
It was I would love to say that I had some moment where I told them to go shove it, and walked out like in a movie or something, but I didn't, you know what I mean? I wished I did, but I didn't, I kind of slunked away, right? I kind of like, pretended that, I love it, man. This is great. This is great. I love my stay here at Flag, oh God, I can't wait to come back, right? I had to promise them that I would come back.
Did they threaten you?
Then,
I mean, when you didn't come back, did they threaten you or follow you?
I mean, they called me a whole bunch of times and talked to me about it and stuff, I mean, like one time they called me from Flag and they tried to talk me into coming back. And I was honest with them. I go, look, last time I was there, I was fucked over. I paid $100,000. I got sec checking the whole time. It was horrible. And they laughed and they said, oh, when was that? When was that? And I said, oh, well, that was like 2000. And they go, oh, yeah, that's when we were doing it. Yeah, that's when we were doing it the wrong. We fixed it.
I see.
We fixed it.
Yeah.
We fixed it. It's all good now.
Right.
Just come on back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you out of your stinking mind? I ain't coming back.
So they left.
Like after that, fight me, right? Like, like I couldn't believe it. They had the gall to say that the lady said that to me. I was just laughing at her. Dude. But anyway, so for me, getting out of it was a very, was horrible process. It was horribly, I was full of Scientology, you're programmed, totally programmed that there's nothing wrong with Scientology. There's only something wrong with you, right? Any complaints that you have about Scientology, any complaint that you have about Scientology is due to your own crimes. That's it. End of story. Bang. That's it. You did something bad. And if you're critical of Scientology, that's why. So we got to find out what it is. And I am not joking. It's exactly their viewpoint, right? So any person that's critical of it or doesn't like it, you're just no good. That's their viewpoint.
Well, Andy, I want to thank you so much for taking the extra half an hour to chat with us. It has been absolutely eye-opening, and I truly, truly appreciate you spending this time with us. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. It was fun to talk. And, part of when I went through that cancer thing, I wrote an article about it. You can find it online, Cancer and Scientology by Andy Porter. And, I basically explained that what cancer... cancer cured me of Scientology.
Wow.
Actually, is what it did. And I was really stuck with this idea that all the things that had happened to me, were my own fault. Everything that happened to me was my own fault.
Mhm.
I was really burdened with that. And the cancer blew it off me. And that was a part of the indoctrination of Scientology. And so, it's kind of harsh to say that I'm thankful to cancer for something, but I am, because it got that Scientology crap out of my head. And so
Wow.
I'm happy to talk about it anytime. And thank you for inviting me on the show. I really, really, really appreciate talking to you. And it was a lot of fun.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. And good health to you for many, many years.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Andy. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Well, that was our friend. That was fantastic. I'm telling you, I think both guests were very, very fair in their discussion and their experience. We have, folks, it's very rare that you're going to get a show about Scientology in which, and I did send an email to the corporate to say, hey, look, I'm doing a presentation. Would you like to have someone come on and represent? But I had no response, and that's fine. Perhaps maybe they didn't get the email. Fine. But I didn't want to just get someone just to come up here and complain and moan and groan about Scientology. I wanted to have two guests from different perspectives, both individuals. Chris without a Hellcat. Again, for those of you who don't know, you can go to YouTube and type in Chris without a Hellcat. That's his YouTube page, and click on the link tree there. And if you want to donate to his ministry, to what he's doing, because he's an independent journalist covering stories in LA. And he came on, he talked to you guys about what they're doing. He's on TikTok, and you can go and watch them thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you, Judy-Ann, for those, and thank you for subscribing. For those who want to go on TikTok and follow him, but make sure you also help, so that he can continue doing these type of investigative reports. And then, of course, Andy. It was important for me to bring on someone who had true knowledge, inside knowledge on Scientology, not just somebody who has an opinion on it based on just an opinion. And does he still answer paranormal? Yeah, I answer paranormal questions. But tonight was just strictly about Scientology, to shed some light onto it. But here's what I find interesting. Both individuals who are obviously critical of Scientology, and that's fine. That's their right. You have one individual who was there for over 20 years as an executive director, and even a recruiter in several countries, who gives you his perspective. And then you have Chris without a Hellcat, who's he's an investigative journalist, independent investigative journalist. Both have said that, yeah, they have seen some good that came with Scientology. They have experienced it, they have seen it, but they've also said that there was some pretty bad stuff. So really, this is I wanted to inform you, and you can decide whether or not this is something that you want to go down this route or not. That's your choice. But it was important for me not to make this just a complaint session. I don't believe shedding light is important. And I think they did a fantastic job. I truly did. So I appreciate them. I truly appreciate Chris and Andy to come on and talk. They didn't have to. They're not getting paid for this. As I'm not getting paid. We just wanted to share their experience about Scientology. So, and there's so much. There's so much there. Now, let me remind you, because a lot of people don't know my schedule. On Sundays and Wednesdays, I am teaching Bible study at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, here's the deal. Next Wednesday, I'm going to be starting the book of Revelation. And I will break it down to I'm going to break it down, everything that is written. I will explain it in detail. Now, I'm going to start with chapter 1. So please don't ask me questions that's in chapter 10, because I won't entertain that, because I'm going to do chapter 1 and then 2 and 3 and 4. So that is how I do it. It's very methodical. And I do that because if you're jumping around all over the place, it confuses people, especially with the book of Revelation. Okay, Mr. Producer. So that's what I'm going to do. So starting next Wednesday, the book of Revelation, I'll explain it in great detail, because there's so many people worried about the wars and World War III, and There's a lot of that stuff going on now. So I want to tell you, this is what it is and this is what it's not. And that way you can have this information. And for those of you, people are asking, well, what are your credentials? I'll be more than I studied in the Roman Catholic Church for 6 years, received my minor orders. I have a doctorate in ministry, a master's of divinity, a master of education, a master of business, a bachelor of communication, and associate of philosophy. I went to Loyola University in Chicago. I went to Sullivan University. I went to Argosy University. So they're regionally accredited. And again, education is very important. And this is why I think it's crucial that you understand the book of Revelation from a perspective of hopefully, someone who is trained in it, because there's a lot of people teaching and just scaring people. So for those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say good night to you guys. Can't believe it just goes by too fast. It goes way, way, way too fast. For those of you who are on Instagram, I'm going to say good night to you guys and thank you for being here. And for those of you on Spreaker, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and TikTok, don't go away. I'll be with you guys in just a second. Remember, I tell you, I'll be on tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's open mic night. So you can have questions. If you have questions, you can join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Remember, I tell you always that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless, and never let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Good night. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.